Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra and Kumasi. We're on Love 99.5 FM. We are on a number of affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions. We are on Radio Somali in Wa, Radio Billy Radio in Keta and Victory FM also in Keta. We are on Ganga FM in Jirapa, Flow FM in Aflao. We are live on Twitter Spaces. We are on Facebook. We are on myjoyonline.com. The Midday News is sponsored by Petrosol. Your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol is always a delightful experience. Also brought to you by Duraplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC pipes and water tank. Where Duraplus goes, water flows. This afternoon, International Monetary Fund identifies scrapping of tax exemptions, adjustment of levies on fuel, an increase in income tax as measures government can implement to boost revenue mobilization under its $3 billion support program.
Is the beginning of the work we will do together with the authorities of Ghana for the implementation of the program for the benefit of the people of Ghana.
An industry is already registering its displeasure on what appears to be the conditions up for implementation.
When you introduce externalities like taxes, like high interest rates, like levies, then you go to their bottom line and you realize that all of them are making losses, which means that that component needs to be managed.
Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is meanwhile pleading for support from Ghanaians to make the IMF program implementation a success.
I'm not happy with chiefs in Amansia area where
we'll have details of that shortly. And also, Asante Hene Otunfo said to the second takes on chiefs in the Amansia enclave over what he describes as the unacceptable destruction of the environment by illegal miners while they look on.
I'm not happy with chiefs in Amansia area where Galamsey has taken over the land, and I say to them that if you sit there and you claim that you don't know what is happening, then you are not fit to be a chief over there.
Also in this package, NDC backs former Sin North MP James Jachikwesing in the yet to be announced by-election following the Supreme Court's decision to quash his eligibility.
So if the EC opens nomination today, they might have a certificate of organization already. So there is no ban against him.
Also, will you accept the counting of unstamped ballots in the national election? That's the question from the defeated parliamentary aspirant in the K2 North primaries to the leadership of the NDC following the party's decision to declare Edem Agbana winner in the weekend's polls.
As far as our internal elections are concerned, stamping of ballot papers are irrelevant, given no overvoting and the correspondence of serial numbers to the booklet. Can our members accept this if it occurs to us in the national elections?
And their sports.
Ghanaian boxer Isaac Dogbe downplays assertions his height is a disadvantage to his career.
I'll also take you to Nigeria for the latest on hearings into the contested presidential elections as Atiku Abubakar calls on President Akufo-Addo and other African leaders to boycott Bola Tinubu's inauguration. And later, music icon, philanthropist and anti-Galamsey campaigner, all you may have missed on the 360 conversation with Stonebwoy on PM Express.
The majority of those water bodies are being polluted, then it's only a matter of time we're all going to be importing water to drink. I can do one a cappella right now so that you can do your rap. Okay, fine. Let me just do it so you can do your rap. Let's go. Yeah. They never listen to what them say.
Yeah.
Into the future with you.
We have that and more in this afternoon's edition of the Midday News. I am Emefa Apawu. Please stay for details. Many thanks for choosing us. This is your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. And we start off with the International Monetary Fund identifying scrapping of tax exemptions, adjustment of levies on fuel, an increasing of income tax as measures government could implement to boost revenue mobilization under its $3 billion support program. Well, this is contained in its May 2023 country report on Ghana's request for the $3 billion support program. Managing Director of the fund, Kristalina Gogiva, says program for Ghana is only the first step towards restoring economic stability.
Today's decision is also a major milestone for the G20 Common Framework, the commitment by the Official Creditors Committee to help make Ghana's debt sustainable was essential for the approval of the funds program. And it signals important progress. The decision our board has taken is the beginning of the work we will do together with the authorities of Ghana for the implementation of the program for the benefit of the people of Ghana.
Well, my colleague Joseph Akable joins me in studio. He's been studying this particular document and joins us with details. Joseph, let's first talk about what is informing the IMF's call for some changes to the nation's tax regime.
It has actually identified weak domestic revenue mobilization as a major challenge that the nation must resolve. Its Fiscal Affairs Department, FAD, actually embarked on a tax diagnostic mission to Ghana and identified the following potential measures to sustainably generate significant revenue while addressing efficiency and equity concerns. So the first is removing VAT exemptions, which are estimated to be close to 2% of GDP. They are also asking that we reform CIT by phasing out tax holidays and exemptions and strengthening safeguards against profit sharing. They also want a reduction in customs exemptions, increasing progressivity in personal income taxes, and finally, automatically adjusting fuel levies by exchange rate movement or inflation.
But the industry is not particularly happy about this.
Yes, the Chamber of Commerce has pointed out that businesses are already struggling and this could worsen the situation.
Businesses in Ghana are very, very ready. I told the last time that we conducted a research, the chamber, and we realized that the SMEs in Ghana are growth-oriented, which means that giving them the opportunity, they can grow to become multinationals. But when you introduce externalities like taxes, like high interest rates, like levies, then you go to their bottom line and you realize that all of them are making losses, which means that that component needs to be managed. And that is where my concern is, because these conditionalities will all...
So listen, when we say that taxes, taxes, it may not immediately take the form of new tax handles, but a combination of that, okay? Because the goal we have set for ourselves that in achieving fiscal consolidation, that is going to impact the balance sheet of the private sector and households. And by the time you realize, you will not get the much needed impact.
Well, Joseph, let's get back into the IMF report. We know that they also touched on this issue of expenditure cut. What does it say?
It expects primary expenditure to be reduced by 2 percentage points of GDP, mainly by 1, lowering capital expenditure through project reprioritization, 2, containing the wage bill by limiting wage increases and hiring, rationalizing goods and services spending, reducing transfers to statutory funds through a reduction of the cap on the share of revenue that they can receive. And these measures are to be supported by steps to strictly tighten expenditure commitment controls of both MDAs and statutory funds.
Thank you very much, Joseph. Well, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is meanwhile pleading for support from Ghanaians to make the IMF program implementation a success. The minister has been speaking to Joy Business from Washington, D.C., where he will be joining the IMF for today's joint press conference.
Ghana's IMF board approval is far from a magic solution one. What is, however, is the crucial first step on the necessary journey of strong reforms, inclusive growth, and relentless pursuit of a growth agenda geared towards returning Ghana's economy to a place of strength, prosperity, and resilience. I take this opportunity to call on all Ghanaians, investors, bilateral development partners to take up the cause of Ghana and support the government in the implementation of the PCPEC-backed IMF ECF program.
That's Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. Well, Joy Business has been speaking to him from Washington, D.C. And, of course, we're bringing you details from that IMF joint press conference following engagements in the USA over the past week. But here in Accra, the Finance Ministry is holding a news conference, and Joy News editor Fred Smith joins us on the line with more on this. Fred, bring us up to speed on what we're learning from the Ministry of Finance.
Well, officials of the ministry have called this briefing so they can explain the 126 or so page document which was agreed by the IMF Executive Board yesterday to journalists who are attending this briefing. They don't intend to make this public, but to help the journalists understand what contained in the document, especially on the side of the government, to demonstrate how transparent they are with the agreement that they've had. The key government personality who's briefing the media today will be the Minister of State at the Finance Ministry, Mohammed Amin Adam, supported by the Chief Director, Eva Mentz, and other technical officers at the Finance Ministry. The briefing, though, will be behind closed doors, and as we've already heard from the Chief Director, it's simply a call for all Ghanaians to support and the starting from the media.
That's Joy News editor Fred Smith there giving us details from that Finance Ministry briefing. And like he said, we'll be bringing you details of that particular joint press conference between the IMF and the Finance Ministry, led by Ken Oforiatta himself. This is the Midday News live on Joy 99.7 FM. I'll take you to the Ashanti region now. And the Asantehene Otunfo to the second says he's unhappy with the spate of illegal mining that has ravaged lands in the Amansie area in the region. He'll be visiting the area to demand answers from local chiefs who sat aloof for the menace to destroy their lands. He spoke at the launch of the 2023 edition of the Green Ghana Day, which is part of government's drive to aggressively restore degraded lands and depleted forest reserves. Nana Boachi Yadom has more.
According to the Global Forest Watch, Ghana has lost a total of 1.4 mega hectares of tree cover from 2001 to 2021, with 160,000 hectares of forest lost within 2010 to 2015. The percentage of forest lost within the period exceeds the quantum of trees cultivated from 1963 to 2016. Illegal mining, illicit logging, the changing climate and other environmental degradation factors are attributable to Ghana's forest loss. The Ashanti region, despite planting over 7 million trees, highest of all regions since the inception of the Green Ghana Day, is heavily riddled with illegal small-scale mining. Alarmed by the spate of illegal mining, the Asantehene reiterated his commitment to fighting the menace.
It is very sad that despite the several measures government has been putting in place to curb this menace, illegal logging and illegal mining continue to pose a threat to our forests. It means that government cannot do it alone. We must all get involved and support government to come to grips with these matters. My chiefs know that I've been speaking about this, and I'm not happy with chiefs in Amansie area where Galamsey has taken over the land, and I say to them that if you sit there and you claim that you don't know what is happening, then you are not fit to be a chief over there. So these are matters that we are going to take it up again. And I don't care whose goals it is, because we have to enforce it. And I have to start with my chiefs first, and then government has to deal with the other ones. We all have to take matters seriously to be able to bring this to a closure, because I cannot accept that. I'm going to take a drive around those areas, in the Amansia to Manson Kwanta area and all those things to see. I've gotten reports about what is happening, and I'm going to do that. And if I finish with that, all the chiefs around that area may have to answer as to why that has happened.
Asantehene Otunfo to the second ending Nana Boachi Yadom's report. Well, the Deputy Chief Executive of the Minerals Commission, Samuel Tika, has also called on regional ministers and DCEs to emulate the example of the Asantehene. He's also been speaking at a dialogue session at an ongoing transformational dialogue organized by the University of Energy and Natural Resources in Sunyai.
Yesterday, when we were launching the Green Ghana 2023, Asantehene made a very strong admonition to his chiefs that all those who have mining going on in their areas and where illegalities are happening, if they don't stand up to check those ones, they don't qualify to be chiefs under him. The point I'm making is this, that if government itself could replicate that, that is, if the government makes that statement to regional ministers, to DCs, who have all these security people under them, and all this mining and illegal mining activities going under their jurisdiction or within their jurisdictions, and they are told that if I find any illegality within your jurisdictions, you are sacked. I believe that it will be a turning point in this fight against Galamsey.
Well, let's take a closer look at the illegal mining activities in the Amansie area. Love FM's Erastus Asare Donko joins us on the line with details. Erastus, now paint a mental picture about the Amansie illegal mining situation to us as you've witnessed it.
Well, so when we talk about the Amansie area, we are talking about areas like Jakobu, Manson Kwanta, Mansour Dubia, some parts of the Kwai are even part of it, and even some parts of Bosumtwi. Now, when you look at Mansour Dubia, for example, now the area, the land in the area, majority or large part of it cannot be used anymore. It's turned into pits and gullies. And a large part of the Apamprama Forest Reserve, Kobro section or Daho section, has been destroyed. Currently, we have miners inside the Abuaboso section of the Apamprama Forest Reserve. So when you look at the Amansie enclave, that is where a large chunk of illegal mining has gone on in Ashanti region, with its devastating effects, with children falling into pits and dying, and a lot of issues, environmental issues on the ground.
That's my colleague Erastus Asare Donko. It's time to get into the election headquarters now. And the National Democratic Congress (NDC) has pledged its full support for former Assin North MP James Jachikwason to retain the seat in the upcoming by-election. This follows the Supreme Court's directive to Parliament to expunge James Jachikwason's name from its records as a Member of Parliament for failing to prove renunciation of his Canadian citizenship at the time of filing to contest in the 2020 parliamentary elections. But the NDC, in a statement, has promised to support the former MP to retain the seat. My colleague James Aveji joins me in studio with except of that statement. James, let's go through it. First, the NDC raises some reservations about the interest of the Supreme Court in this particular matter.
Yes, some of the statement referred to the decision on some previous similar cases in which it was stated that the Supreme Court did not have jurisdiction over such matters, and so to the NDC it is strange for the Supreme Court to decide to take a decision on this particular matter. And they go ahead to pledge their support for James Jachikwason? Yes, the statement says upon consultation with Mr. Jachikwason himself and the NDC leadership, the full support of the party and the minority caucus in Parliament will be put behind him to ensure an even more resounding victory in the upcoming by-election. Okay, there's been reactions to this particular statement. The Director of Legal Affairs of the New Patriotic Party, Gary Nimako, says the Supreme Court has every right to give an interpretation of the law on the qualification eligibility of Mr. Kwason to have contested the 2020 election, contrary to the view of the NDC.
Let me simply explain that what was before the Supreme Court was not about election petition. It was not election petition. What before the Supreme Court was about qualification and eligibility, and Article 94, interpretation and enforcement. It was not a petition. They shouldn't confuse anybody. Okay, they had gone to the Supreme Court the same way the Bible went to the Supreme Court for enforcement. Okay, and interpretation. What was before the Supreme Court was for qualification. Whether or not Mr. Kwason at the time of filing was eligible, whether he was qualified, but they're allowed to file by the EC in the first place. That's the question. And you see, you can't put something on nothing. If the foundation is weak, everything will fall on it. The foundation of the Kwason's application, filing and everything was weak. Simply put, at the time when he was filing.
Meanwhile, a member of the NDC's legal team, Eduji Tamaklo, maintains that the Attorney General cannot enter fresh criminal prosecutions against James Jachikwason besides the ongoing case at the High Court.
So, if the EC opens nomination today, they might have a certificate of renunciation already. And there is no bar against it in the wisdom of the framers of the Constitution, who are wise, possibly than us today.
We'll stay a while longer in the camp of the NDC because the parliamentary aspirant John Adanu has questioned the decision by the National Executive Committee of the National Democratic Congress to declare Edem Agbana the legitimate winner of the Ketu North parliamentary primaries. He finds it unacceptable that the Council of NDC identified 3 unstamped ballots as valid on the premise that they had corresponding serial numbers. After 3 rounds of counting, both aspirants polled 358 votes after the Electoral Commission officials identified 3 unstamped ballots, 2 in favor of Edem Agbana and 1 in favor of John Adanu. We can hear from Mr. Adanu, who's saying that the party has set a bad precedent.
The key point in this determination is that the serial numbers on the ballots in question are from the booklet used in the constituency election. And since there is no overvoting, these ballots cannot be said to be foreign materials. This means, as far as our internal elections are concerned, stamping of ballot papers are irrelevant, given no overvoting and the correspondence of serial numbers to the booklet. If these ballots were removed during sorting, will we be here?
Well, so that's Adanu there. Elsewhere, court proceedings will continue in Nigeria's Superior Court over the contested February elections in Africa's most populous nation. 2 opposition parties, the Labour Party and the People's Democratic Party, PDP, won the courts to reverse the election that held Bola Tinubu as president-elect. There's more on this report by Blazer Soga of our international desk.
One of the strongest decisions we can send to the world that we're mature enough to take decisions on the democracy in Africa is for the Africans themselves not to pussyfoot on important issues. And that one of the best ways to do that is to say that election that everyone is quarreling about in Nigeria, we hear what the opposition is saying, we hear what young people in Nigeria is saying, can we just wait out all this fancy endorsement until you finish your case in court? So if you choose to go ahead and inaugurate, please forgive us, we wouldn't be able to come for now, but down the road, when your Supreme Court is done with the issues, then we can then say, okay, we have. The reason being that there has to be some way that we can then send a signal to ourselves.
Well, that's Shegun Showumi, the spokesperson of Atiku Abubakar, calling on President Akufo-Addo and other African leaders to boycott the inauguration ceremony that would be organized for Bola Tinubu until the final determination of the court issues. It will take us on a quick break here on the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra, in Kumasi on Love 99.5 FM. We're also on Twitter Spaces, we're on Facebook and myjoyonline.com. The Midday News is sponsored by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol is always a delightful experience. Also brought to you by Duraplast Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC pipes and water tank. Where Duraplast goes, water flows. The International Monetary Fund has been identifying scrapping of tax exemptions, adjustment of levies on fuel, and increase in income tax as measures governments can implement to boost revenue mobilization under its $3 billion support program as we await that particular joint press conference. When we return from the break, we have sports and then music icon, philanthropist and anti-Galamsey campaigner. All you may have missed on the 360 conversation with Stoneboy on PM Express.
When majority of those water bodies are being polluted, then it's only a matter of time we're all going to be importing water to drink. I can do one a cappella right now so that you can do your rap. Okay, fine. Let me just do it so you can do your rap. Let's go. Yeah. Can you ever listen to what them say? Yeah. Into the future with you. I'm not gonna leave you at the end.
Thanks for staying with us. Let's do sports.
Yep, for now, Isaac Dogbe has rejected assertions his height is a disadvantage to his career. The 28-year-old lost the WBO featherweight title in 2018 in a back-to-back defeat inflicted by Emmanuel Navarrete. Dogbe was also recently floored by Robaisi Ramirez in the weight division, with the 2 winners comparatively taller than the Ghanaian boxer. But Dogbe says his height has never been a challenge in the ring.
If size mattered, then I don't think I'd be in a sports. I don't think I would have become a champion. If size mattered, I don't think Tyson would be a champion either. But hey, whatever you are given, you have to be able to work with it. There's an old saying that say when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade out of it. Me too, that's how God made me. He made me 5'4", tall guy, very tall. So I use that to my own advantage, and it's been successful. God has been great, and I'm grateful for how I am. I know some people want to see me at 6'4", 6 foot something, but unfortunately, that's not going to happen.
So that's former world champion Isaac Dogbe on his height.
Well, let's do Tech Thursday now. And the lack of 24-hour service at many shops hinders many will-be customers from accessing products, especially at night. What if there can be a vending machine where items can be purchased using mobile money? Fortunately, 3 computer engineering students at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology has responded to that exact call. Love FM's Kwesi Deborah speaks with the students behind the innovation, Bernard Addo, Enoch Ahin, and Peter Doglo for Tech Thursday.
The vending machine is equipped with a camera to monitor activities in the surrounding, a 7-inch touchscreen to control the machine, a mobile app, and spring coils for dispensing their items.
When we were taking our examination this semester, a lot of sellers were outside the library from 10 p.m. up to morning 5 a.m. just because students would come out at dawn to come and buy water or to come and buy chips. We found out that human efforts can be put to better use than just sitting around and waiting for someone to come and buy their stuff. And that's why we decided to build a vending machine.
So since it's a remote control device, it doesn't need constant supervision.
So whenever anyone buys anything, it's going to appear on this dashboard, total sales. You always get live updates of whatever someone comes to buy. And you can also know the percentage of goods that are in your vending machine, so that you don't always have to come and check, are there things in my vending machine or not? You'd see them remotely within seconds on this application.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
Now, an ear, nose and throat specialist, Dr. Wolanyo Siale, is advising against pushing sharp objects like bones stuck in your throat into the stomach. According to Dr. Siale, pushing such objects down the intestine could put a patient's health at higher risk. Well, first, listen to some encounters on Joy FM's Drive Time with Lexus Bill.
When I was enjoying some fried potato with chicken, all of a sudden, this potato, it wasn't a bone. The potato I swallowed couldn't land in my stomach. I had to choke in my throat.
Oh my goodness.
My eye became red, started dropping tears. I couldn't move my body. I couldn't beg for water. There was no water around me.
Wow.
It was deadly. I tried to swallow it small. It was no going. I stretched my hand to get someone's water. I drank the water. It was no going. Then I have to just quietly boycott the food. Wow. I stood up, walked away from the canteen.
Well, we can hear the advice of Dr. Wolanyo.
When someone is choking, you encourage the person to cough. So the person should try to cough. So what happens is that when you cough, air is forced from your lungs. It's like balloons in your chest, which pushes through, is able to create pressure from below to push the thing out. Then the other one is you lean the person forward and then you give slaps or thrusts in between the shoulder blades.
Right.
You do it 5 times.
Okay.
Then we have the abdominal thrusts.
Okay.
Which you make your hand into a... You stand behind the patient, first of all. And then, or the person who is choking. You make your hand into a fist. And then you put it in the upper abdomen.
Some lessons there. Now, musician Stonebwoy is backing calls for an end to illegal mining, insisting the menace cannot be allowed to thrive. He's been speaking on this and many other issues on PM Express with Evan Spencer.
What kind of legacy you leaving for them? Selling and destroying.
And on the cleanest is when rain falls and able to harvest the rainfall somehow and settle. Digging like 4 boreholes in 4 different communities. The situation has just been escalating and escalating. People in power know about it more than we who are standing by, because these deals and these companies, these local companies are dealing on government level. And when majority of those water bodies are being polluted, then it's only a matter of time we're all going to be importing water to drink.
You should feature me, as I said at the beginning.
Maybe you might want to give us some bars so people can be convinced.
That's even not on a cappella. Me, I'm a journalist. Why do you want me to do?
Oh, I can do on a cappella right now so that you can do your rap. Okay, fine. Let me just do it so you can do your rap.
Let's go.
Yeah. Give me your love and you know it's safe. They never listen to what them say.
Yeah.
Into the future with you.
We'll give Evan Spencer another comeback to this because this is disgraceful. Well, that's how we end the midday news here on Joy 99.7 FM. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. And Ghana breach debt sustainability analysis leading to debt distress. Now, IMF is saying also EOCO has released wanted persons list. You want to check that out on myjoyonline.com. We have Living Word with Pastor Mensa Otabil up next. I am Emefa Apawu. Have a good afternoon.
What them